Cancer, have you ever felt as if someone was watching you even when there was no one around? A chill brushing the back of your neck, a strange sound just as your eyes begin to close, a formless sensation that makes you weary without knowing why. That is not your imagination. That is a sign something is returning, not to frighten you, but to reclaim the very soul you just began to find again. And if you are a Cancer, listen closely, because this warning cannot wait any longer. To understand who she is, we must return to the place where everything once quietly fell apart, the place where she first appeared and you did not recognize her. There are moments in life when we suddenly feel a chill, not from the wind, but from something that glides silently across the soul, something unseen, yet it touches exactly where your heart has hidden its deepest wounds. That is when you know something is coming back, something you thought you had outgrown, locked away, sealed shut many years ago. But you forget, not every door that is closed is safe, and not everything that disappears truly leaves. Lately, have you felt as if someone is watching you? Not the kind that lurks outside your window, but a strange presence, like a shadow without a form. It says nothing. It does not touch you yet. You can see clearly. You are weary. You are drained. You are no longer yourself. That is not vague. That is a signal that something is seeking to return and reclaim a part of you, the part once wounded, once manipulated, once silenced. Perhaps there was once someone in your life, someone who made you tiptoe around your own home, afraid of the sound of their voice, someone you loved so deeply that you forgot yourself, or someone who convinced you that you were never enough to simply be who you are. That person may no longer exist in your present life, but she still lingers in a hidden corner of your consciousness. In the language of spirit, we call her the gray-haired woman, not because of hair color, but because of the energy of an old, withered soul, unwilling to depart. And today I have come to tell you, she is returning. You will not see her, but you will feel her. The strange sound that comes just as you close your eyes to meditate, the light in your room flickering with no explanation, the sudden chill at the back of your neck, or that shiver that rises unbidden when you recall old stories long buried. Some may say it is coincidence. I do not believe so. For the Lord once said, the thief does not come through the front door. He slips through the cracks in your faith. And the frightening thing is not the arrival of the darkness. The frightening thing is when we no longer realize when it first slipped in. It does not come to take away someone you love, no. It comes to abduct your very soul, the part you struggled for years to reclaim, to mend, to love again. It comes like a whisper in the night, like an old guilt rising inside you just as you finally allowed yourself a taste of happiness. It is that voice in your head telling you, you are not enough. You will fail. No one is truly honest with you. Do you know that is not your voice? It is the echo of those who once made you doubt yourself. Cancer, you have the most sensitive and warmest heart of all the zodiac, and because of that, you are also the one who can be wounded the deepest. But today, you are no longer who you once were. Today, you have the right to look back and say no. No to the echoes of the dark. No to anyone who ever made you believe that your inner light was something to be hidden. Because sometimes we do not need to destroy the shadow. We only need to turn on the light. And when the light is strong enough, the shadow will fade away on its own. To do that, you do not need extraordinary strength. You only need to return to your own center, to the place where the light has never gone out. From there, you will see clearly. No one can control you if you are no longer afraid. No one can steal your light if you no longer run from it. And if you are asking yourself, is that light still there? Do I still have the strength to protect myself? Then pause for a moment, breathe deeply, and remember this: your light is the one thing it cannot imitate, because that light does not come from you, but through you. from God, from the eternal source. You are still here, you are still breathing, and that means you still have a choice. The choice not to let that gray figure reclaim what you won back through tears and faith. And at the very moment your hand touches this truth, something else is happening. Another layer is unfolding. A thin veil in your soul is shifting, and you begin to feel something you once forgot. You are being watched, not by people but by energy. An old energy trying to fasten itself again to the space of light you just purified. We will keep going, but this time, not with fear, but with eyes that have begun to see from within. You know there are things that leave no trace, and yet still leave us unsettled like a touch, without form like a silent sob, like a mirror, clouded by the breath of an old soul. After many years walking beside souls on their healing journey, I have come to see one truth. When the light within you begins to grow, you do not only illuminate your own future, you also bring into sight what once hid in the shadows. You have come so far, Cancer. I know you have done the hardest work in this life, the work of returning to yourself, returning to the light, after once letting your soul be drowned in so many nameless things. And you have begun to see clearly what before you could only sense in faint outlines. You begin to see clearly what is love and what is disguised, bondage, what is gentle speech that carries hidden chains, what is care that wears the mask of control. And at times, you also begin to realize that you too once manipulated yourself through fear and unnecessary endurance. When your soul begins to shift, the energies once fed by your softness begin to resist. They do not return cloaked in ghostly forms. They return in seemingly harmless situations, a message from someone whose name you have long left, unspoken a chance, encounter that your intuition does not welcome. A small remark that touches a wound, not yet healed a dream that pulls you back to where you once lost your way. Not by chance. All are tests of the light. And do you know, the more light there is, the more unresolved things begin to show. The moment you start to love yourself again is the moment those who once fed on your wounds feel their power fade. The moment you begin to speak the truth is the moment the lies around you begin to tremble. The moment you no longer try to please is the moment you begin to live real and true, and the light begins to take form. Cancer, you are a delicate soul. You feel what others have not spoken. You touch another's sorrow without asking its name. And because of this, you often carry the burdens of wounds that are not yours. But today you must know this. You are no longer responsible for carrying anything that does not belong to the light. You may lay it down gently, as a drop of dew slipping from a leaf. You may return all that does not belong to you in stillness without blame. Jesus once taught, "You shall know them by their fruits." If someone drains you, makes you feel small, makes you doubt yourself, then they are not of the light. Perhaps you are asking yourself, am I strong enough to refuse what once felt familiar? Am I being too sensitive when my intuition keeps whispering this energy is not right? I want you to know that feeling is real. You are not imagining it. You are being warned through intuition, and that is not weakness. It is a form of ancient wisdom. Not all darkness screams and terrifies. Often it comes in gentle shapes. A person who seems so kind, a job that looks stable, a relationship with no clear fault, except that it makes you shrink smaller each day. And those are the very things we must be most awake to. Your soul cannot be bound by chains, but it can be imprisoned by small compromises each day. One silence, when your heart longs to speak. One nod, when your soul wants to refuse. One dream postponed for fear of disapproval. Bit by bit, you drift away from yourself without noticing. Yet you are still here, and the light has never stopped calling your name. Today, if you feel you are being followed not by someone but by a nameless energy, then turn inward. There are no cameras there, no supervision, no one watching, only you and the source of light you were born with. In this moment, there is no need to resist. Simply stand still and recognize. Simply say within your heart, I see this. I do not resist, but I do not walk with it either. And that energy will drift away like smoke carried off by the wind. Awakening does not mean you will no longer be tested. Awakening means you no longer respond the way you once did. You no longer fight, you no longer fear. You simply remain with yourself like a candle that knows exactly why it is burning. And when you can hold that light, you will begin to feel something new, not the pursuit, but the presence, a pure space where you can protect your own energy gently, deeply, with quiet strength. And that is where we must begin to practice, not to escape the darkness, but to learn how to keep the light with intention. Because light is not enough just to shine. It must be held steady as a declaration, a silent protection, a boundary woven with love. And that is what I wish to bring you to right now. You are ready, Cancer. We will no longer only see. We will learn how to preserve with faith, with ritual, with a small prayer, yet strong enough to make every shadow halt its steps. So close your eyes and step into that space with me, the place where you begin to set your boundaries with light. There are boundaries unseen by the eye, yet if you do not set them, others will cross uninvited. Not everyone carries darkness, but if you do not intentionally guard your light, then the darkness, whether by accident or design, will find a way to slip in. I am not speaking of the visible world. I am speaking of a deeper realm where your mind and soul meet. There, every choice you make leaves a trace. Every word you speak leaves an echo. Everything you touch leaves its mark. And when you have begun to walk in the light, when you have begun to open your heart again after so many years locked tight, then there is one thing you must do, a thing most of us forget. You must learn to keep yourself not in fear, but in the proof, knowing that you are the guardian at the gate of your own soul. You do not need permission to protect your peace. You do not need to explain why you choose not to engage with someone. You do not need to feel guilty for choosing to keep your energy pure. This is not selfishness. This is the kindest thing you can do for yourself and for the world. So where to begin, I will not lead you into a chain of complicated rituals. I will only show you 3 simple things you can do today, 3 small acts, yet strong enough to restore the boundary around your soul, not like a wall, but like a gentle, unwavering layer of light. First, prayer, but it does not need to be ornate. All it takes is to wake up in the morning, place your hand over your heart, and say, Lord, may your light cover me today. Let me see clearly what comes from love and what does not. Help me stand firm in kindness, yet not be easily deceived. Let your light be the circle of protection around my soul. There is no right or wrong way, as long as it is truth spoken from your heart. Even a whisper is enough if it is offered in faith. Second, the symbolic act using light and water. Before going to bed, place a glass of clean water by your bedside. You do not need to call it a miracle, just look at it. Then, close your eyes. Imagine your soul being wrapped in light, soft as a warm blanket, and whisper, whatever does not belong to the light has no permission to touch me tonight. I am safe. I am guarded. You will be surprised how something so small can transform the quality of your sleep so deeply. Water absorbs energy. Light creates boundaries. When you bring the two together with presence, you are sending a powerful signal out into the world. I have a home, and this home has someone keeping watch. Third, the cord-cutting technique. When you feel that someone or something is draining, you do not try to endure it. Do not rush to understand. Step away from that space for a moment. Stand still, close your eyes, take a deep breath, then imagine between you and them a cord being stretched tight, and gently say within, I no longer hold this. I return it to the light. I do not need to understand everything in order to be at peace. You do not need anyone's agreement. You only need to stop the binding inside you first. I know what I share today is not a common practice. These are not the things you hear on morning news feeds, but they are what I have practiced and have witnessed thousands of souls reborn through. No one teaches us how to guard our energy. They only teach how to guard appearances. They teach how to keep others pleased, but they do not teach us how to keep ourselves whole after every time we are drained. Dear Cancer, you were not born to serve the expectations of another. You are not here to be endlessly kind at the cost of your soul. You are here to become the light the world so desperately needs. But that light should not burn until it is extinguished. It must be tended like a sacred flame. Today, you do not need to do anything grand. Just begin by keeping a little peace for yourself. Keep a small sacred space where you are untouched by what should not reach you. Because in this chaotic world, the one who knows how to guard their peace is the one who heals an entire field of vibrations. And when you begin to do this, you will notice something strange. No one can invade you anymore, not even with a word. No longer will you feel exhausted just by standing near someone. No longer will you lose yourself just to keep someone else from leaving. Instead, you will begin to stand tall, not to fight, but to be fully yourself, steady, gentle, radiant, untouched. And it is precisely when you stand there serene in the midst of the world that another thing begins to happen. Not only will the ones from the past want to return, but new things, strange temptations, sweet invitations will also appear. But this time, you will not be afraid anymore, because you know what they truly want is not you. It is the light you carry within. And that is what we need to face together, right here, right now. There are nights when you feel so empty that even your prayers cannot rise anymore. Not because you have lost faith, but because you are exhausted. I know you do not need more words telling you to be strong. You do not need anyone to paint you a new horizon. What you need is a safe space where you can simply be yourself without doubt, without judgment, without performing. And that is exactly what she wants to steal. Not your possessions, not your name, but your sacred right to live true. She does not need to lock your doors. She only needs to make you doubt yourself, to make you believe that you are not enough to be who you are. She comes like smoke, slipping through the cracks you thought had healed the phrases you heard when you were small. Don't be so sensitive. You have to be strong. Already tired and you've done nothing. She gathers all of it like weapons to make you forget that you were born enough, that you have always been light. Only the world was so full of shadows you felt forced to hide. She fears you remembering. She fears you stepping out of the role you have played too long. She fears you no longer asking permission just to rest in peace. Because when you rise with the truth in your heart, you are no longer just a soul awakened. You become a lamp in the stillness, not loud, but bright enough for others to find their way. And that is why you are tested, not because you are weak, but because you have begun to resist being controlled. You once shrank yourself to avoid making others uncomfortable. You once hid your tears so no one would think you fragile. You once endured what was undeserved just to keep the peace. But what happens when you no longer live to please? What happens when you lift your head and say, "This is me, and I will not apologize for it"? In that moment, Cancer, your true soul returns. No more hiding, no more shrinking, no more compromise. It steps forward, quiet yet alive, and the whole world will feel it. You do not need to prove anything. Your presence itself is already the message. A person who dares to live true is a living prayer in this world. You do not need to speak. You only need to be authentically. And that light will heal those watching you from the shadows. They may not say anything, but they see. And one day, they too will dare to be real, because they saw you dared first. You once thought that you had to do something great to be called a world changer. But no true change begins the moment you stop betraying yourself, from the moment you stopped forcing yourself to fit in and began quietly living in truth. From then on, everything shifted. Those who did not belong naturally walked away. What no longer served you simply dissolved. And doors you never expected began to open gently, yet unshakably. You no longer have to choose between being loved and being yourself. You are worthy of both, and real love, it will never ask you to shrink in order to fit. True love expands the space wide enough to embrace all of you, even the corners that are not yet perfect. You do not need to shine in the surface sense. You only need to stop hiding your light. You only need to stop folding yourself smaller when your soul longs to speak. You were born carrying a light that belongs to no one else, and when you live in alignment with it, you are not only healing yourself, you become a safe ground for other trembling souls searching for their way. You are the living proof that even after breaking into pieces, one can still return to oneself, but deeper, brighter, more radiant. No one can ever steal your soul unless you surrender it. And today you did not. You chose to rise. And that, dear Cancer, is enough to make the light within you become a steady pillar for this entire world. If what I have shared today stirred something inside, you leave a line, the gray-haired woman in my life island. It may be a person, it may be a memory, it may be a part of you that you once tried to hide. Writing it down is the very first way for light to touch it. Thank you for sitting here listening and allowing yourself to be touched by that truest part of you. May you always be guided by light, protected by God, and kept safe by the very love you once forgot to give yourself. May peace and clarity always walk with you on the path you choose.